GlideUser. GlideUser is an API which is used to get the current logged in user details in the client side. GlideUser, which is used to get the current logged in user details in the client side. So do you guys understand what exactly is client side and what exactly is server side? Do you guys understand?
Current logged in user.
See, now let me just explain you. Before submitting the form, the details will not get stored in the database. Then we call it as client side. After submitting the form, the details will get stored in the database. Once the data gets stored in the database, if you want to play with the data that is available in the database, we will actually call that as server side. You understand my point?
For submitting.
See, before submitting means, let me just remove all. Okay, so I have entered something here. The details that I have entered is not stored in the database. So when does this get stored in the database? Once I save this one, the data gets stored in the database. Okay. If you want to play with the data that is already entered in the database, you will actually call that as server side data.
It means a current object number.
Current object comes under server side, yeah.
Okay.
All these these details will get stored in the current object. That is fine. Once you submit this one, these details are getting stored in the database that we can see it in the list case records. So these are actually called database. These records are stored in the database. If you want to play with this list of records, we need server-side scripting. So whatever the API that I am going to tell you is actually client-side API. It will not be playing with the server-side data. So let me just give you another example. Glide record we have used, right? So when did we use glide record? So glide record we used it for fraud operations. Glide record we did use it for fraud operations. Fraud operation in the sense we wanted to play with the data that is already there in the database. Then that's why we used glide record. The other day when I was explaining glide record, if you remember, we played with the list of records. Any confusions, guys?
No.
I think it would have made you confusion. See, understand. After submitting the data will get stored in the database. Those records we can see it in the list. Okay. To play with the data that is stored in the database, we use server-side APIs. Before submitting the data, the details will be on the form. If you want to play with that, you will have to use client-side APIs. So GlideUser is one among them which are used in the client side. Okay, glide record is actually a server-side API which will also work on client side as well. Glide record can also be used in the glide record can also be used in the client side as well.
Glide record will be used in both server and client side also.
Yes.
Okay.
but it is not best practice to use glide record in the client side,
Why, sir?
because it will run asynchronous, it will run synchronously, and it will cause some performance issue. So we'll tell you in coming sessions, why don't we use glide record in client side? Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
So for now, I'm actually telling you guys what exactly is GlideUser. GlideUser is used to get the current logged in user details in the client side. So we can access GlideUser in the client side using G_user. You can actually consider this as G_user. GlideUser can be termed in the scripting as G_user. Okay, we'll quickly take a look at GlideUser now using onload client script. So as per our discussion, when does onload client script will run?
When
When
loading
does
it,
Hmm.
I'm loading.
For submitting.
Every time when I am loading the form, onload client script will run. See, the onload client script is running. So in the onload client script, I am going to write. I'm going to show you what exactly is GlideUser. So where So how do we access GlideUser in the scripting? G_user dot first name. So who is the current logged in user here?
system admin.
System administrator. So here it will print system administrator. So here first name as system. First name as system. First name as system, last name as administrator. So we'll first take a look at first name. So every time when you load the form, it will show you the current logged in user first name. So what is the current logged in user first name? System. The same way, if you want to show the last name, will show you the last name. So what is the last name? Current logged in user last name? Administrator. So current logged in user first name is system, last name is administrator. You can see here first name, last name. So if you want to get the full name, we can actually use where full name is equal to G_user dot get full name. So which will actually give us full name, system administrator. System administrator is the full name, right? So that's why I am actually using this full name. So if I refresh this one, now I will get the current logged in user full name. System administrator is the full name. So if I want to get the current logged in user SysID, so what is the current logged in user SysID? Let me just copy this one. System administrator SysID is this one. So this is the one. So if I want to get this current logged in user SysID, we can actually use so it is actually giving. So did we change the? Now when I reload this one, when I load this one, it will give us the SysID of the current logged in user. See, the one which we are getting here, the one which we have copied, both are same or not, we can identify. So these two are same. So if you want to get the current logged in user SysID, you can actually use g underscore user dot user ID. Are you guys able to understand what exactly I am doing? Guys,
Yes.
can any one of you tell me what exactly is GlideUser?
You can check the your current logged in user details.
So if you want to get the person who has logged in the client side, you can actually use g underscore user. That means we can term it as glide user. Okay. You guys understand, right?
Yes.
So
So we can check.
now, yeah. Now I am going to tell you a major difference here. I am going to tell you a major difference here. So here in the case form, I'm actually populating the current logged in user details here. In the caller, I'm actually populating the current logged in user details here. So how am I populating the current logged in user details here? Using default value, I'm actually populating the current logged in user details. So here, I will tell you a major difference here. Hmm. The other day we have written this line of script gs.getUserID colon this one. So this one also is used to get the current logged in user SysID. Here in the client script, we also use g underscore user dot user ID. So what is the difference between these two? This also will give us the current logged in user SysID. So here in the caller, this one also give the current logged in user SysID. So what are the differences between these two things? So there we are using g underscore user dot user ID. Here we are using gs dot get user ID. So both does the same thing. It will get the current logged in user SysIDs. Both will get the current logged in user SysIDs. So what is the difference between these two? Hmm? What are the difference between these two? Any guesses, guys? Can any one of you guess?
From server side.
Very good. So gs.getUserID is the script we use in the server side to get the current logged in user details. To get the current logged in user details in the server side, we use gs.getUserID. If you want to get the current logged in user details in the client side, you will actually use g_user.userid. So I am going to share a blog for you. This will really help you to understand. See, this is actually gs.getUser, gs.getUser by ID, gs.getUsername, gs.getUserID. All these things are user object is designed to be used in the any server side JavaScript business rules, UI policies, system security. The following tables shows how to use the object and the corresponding functions and methods. So this gs.getUserID is used in the server side. So this is actually server side scripting related to user object. Okay. So now we come to the client side. In the client side, we use g_user.username, first name, last name, user ID, as role, something like that we use in the client side. So keep this handy with you so that it can help you in the future. Now, do you guys understand why did I use GlideUser? Why did I use gs.getUserID in the server side? I mean, are you guys getting confused or are you guys able to understand? Everyone, I'm asking everyone. Hmm?
Understand.
I mean, for everyone, you guys are able to understand it, right?
Yes, sir.
Hmm. Those who are not able to understand, please raise your voice, guys. I will be able to explain you guys few more times if you are not able to understand.
In script, why it has to be log first instead of first name?
Sorry, I couldn't get you. Could you please be louder?
In function onload script, we have written no.
Yeah, which one?
Why it has to be where log first instead of first name?
So it can be
Log
any.
sysid log first.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it can be any. So you name it. You can name your name as uh, Kiran, my. So, but we need to make sure. So we need to make sure these are actually relevant to the this line. The purpose of this script. Okay. So what I wanted to show logged in user first name. So that's why I have specified logged first. So we have to keep meaningful names. That's why I have kept something like this one. This name, this variable name, you can name it whatever, no matter what. So in this variable, you are actually storing the current logged in user first name. So that variable, I am keeping it here in the alert. So in the alert, I am actually showing the first name. So let me just show you logged first. So now it is getting loaded. So if now this is showing current logged in user first name. How is it showing first name? I have stored the logged in user first name in the logged first. That logged first I have kept in the alert. I think you have got it. Guys, Kiranmai,
Yeah, thank you.
you are able to understand, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, it's just that first time also we can write, no?
We can write. But
Yeah.
if you write, if you write first name, that's not a problem until and unless it is not there in the script functions. See, here, first name is function, right? So we
Yeah.
cannot actually keep same as this name. So this is my bad. I have actually provided something like this one. So always remember the best practice is if there is any function name, we cannot actually keep that function name as variable name. Understand? Hello?
Yeah, I understood. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. So now, if the logged in person has specific role or not, if you want to identify that, what exactly we can do is we can actually check that where you can keep a variable name here, g underscore user dot as role, ITIL role. The current logged in user has ITIL role or not, we can actually check. So I am keeping them in the alert. In the alert, it will print true or false. It will print true or false. Now I'm just refreshing if the current logged in person has ITIL role or not. So it is saying the current logged in user has ITIL role. So it is returning true. If the current logged in user has something else role, I'm actually keeping a random name. So if the current logged in user has this role or not, it will actually check. If the current logged in user has this role, it will actually return true. If the current logged in user has that, it is still showing true. Why is it still showing true? Why is it still returning true? The current logged in user does not have this role. Hmm. See here, it is returning false. For admin, it is actually always returning true. If it is any other user, if the current logged in user has that particular role we have written, it will return true. If the current logged in user does not have the role, it will return false. So it is always returning false. So let me just stop the impersonation here and add an ITIL role. So now if I impersonate able tutor again, it will return true now. So current logged in user has ITIL role. That is why it's returning true. Earlier it was actually a different name. So it was checking the roles table and it is giving false. It was giving false. So if the current logged in user has role that we have mentioned, it will actually return true. If the current logged in user does not have the role that we have mentioned, it will return false. So here you need to understand one thing here, guys. For admin, it will always return true. So in that case, what exactly we need to do is we need to use another function called has role exactly. Has role exactly. Where has role exact. G underscore user dot has role exactly. Here I am specifying ITAL. The person who has logged in has subact admin role or not. So I'm just running this one. So if the person who has logged in has this role subact admin or not, so it is actually returning false. So here you need to understand one thing. In place of has role exactly, if I use only has role, it will return true. In place of has role exactly, it will return true. So if you keep has role exactly, it will return false because user does not have this role. Even though user does not have this role, if he is an admin, it will return true. If you use exactly, if user doesn't have role, it will actually return false. So for admin, for especially admins, guys, understand, if the admin is the logged in user, if you are using has role, even though user does not have the role that you have specified, if you are using has role, it will actually return true for admins. If you are using has role exactly, and even for admins also, user does not have access, user does not have that role, it will return false. Am I making you guys am I making this complex, or are you guys able to understand?
Yes.
See, let me give you another
We
example.
can use
If the current logged in user is system administrator. System administrator doesn't have ITIL role. Okay. System administrator doesn't have ITIL role. So here, system administrator is an administrator. Admin means highest privilege. System administrator has admin role, but he still does not have ITIL role. When you are using g_user that has role, ITIL, as he is a admin, it will actually return true, even though he does not have access ITIL role. You understand my point?